closing deals to opening minds. This is the Mr. D podcast. I'm Omar Andreasen, and we're about to get real about real estate, success, and the grit that it takes to build your best life. Let's dive on in. Hey guys, it's Omar Andreasen. I want to welcome you again to another episode of the Mr. D podcast. Today, we are very welcome to have Mr. Freddie Rappina. So Freddie is actually the owner of Opta Financial. And Freddie, I see here that you were a former police officer?
Yes, Omar, that's correct.
Okay. So what made you want to go from law enforcement into the financial side?
I always had a passion for it, and around my 12th year on the police department, I decided to get all the certifications and start my own small firm, and it got pretty big pretty quickly. So for about 7 years there, I was having two careers. My financial office was right next to my police station. I was running right across the street, like back and forth. After my police shift was over, I was running over there. I was like literally getting out of my uniform, putting my suit on, and meeting with clients, waiting for the DC traffic to die down, then I would go home. But I made it to the 20-year mark and then retired from the police department. And now only I'm down to one career, which is great.
Awesome. So I gotta ask you a question. So whenever you pulled over somebody for a ticket or whatnot, would you like, hey, listen, here's a ticket for speeding. By the way, have you thought about your financial future?
Oh,
Did you
Omar, if
double
I
dip?
pulled you over, you had to do something really stupid. I was not interested in pulling people over.
Gotcha. Okay. I have several friends that are police officers, and you know what? They answer the question exactly. They're like, dude, for us to really pull you over or to do, you really have to do something. We're not one of those cops that are just, we're not looking for things like, listen, we get it. We're human as
Usually it's
well.
other people looking at me going, are you going to pull that guy over? He's literally driving like an idiot. But yeah, no.
Awesome. Okay. I had to ask just in case.
That wasn't part of my,
No,
that's not what I got in the job for.
love it. I see here you're an author as well. Author of the book is called Playing the Wealth Game. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I wrote the book because something needed to be said, right? The traditional financial planning model, in my opinion, has not worked the way people have wanted it to work. And over my career and even my personal life, I've started to realize there were two different games in the world of finance. So I wanted to explain that there are two different games. There's checkers and there's chess. And I don't say there's anything wrong with playing checkers, but I want you to know you're playing checkers. And if you're going to play checkers, I want you to play it well. But I also want you to know that you're not playing chess, and you will not likely be able to achieve the types of things that a chess player are going to be able to achieve playing that game. It's more of a self-discovery book. By the end of the book, you should know whether you are a chess player or a checkers player, whether or not you want to stay or you want to switch. But yeah, I put things in that book that a lot of wealth advisors out there, financial advisors, whatever you want to call them, they dare not say out loud. So people are going to read something a little bit different and have an opinion on it one way or the other.
So pretty much a little bit more blunt. Would you say?
It's just putting the mirror on things that people already know. One of the jokes I put to the audiences, and like when I'm speaking at seminars, I live in Tampa, right? So I tell people, hey, if you go down to the boat show here in Tampa Bay and walk up to somebody with a $25 million boat and ask them, hey, how'd you afford this $25 million boat? This is awesome. They're not going to say, I fully funded my IRA, or I bought a well-diversified mutual fund, or I bought some insurance product with an X% rate of return, and I waited for compound interest over 1,000,000 years to have the appreciation that I was able to sell it. And now I have this $25 million yacht. Those aren't going to be the answers, right? So once people can wrap their heads around that, then you start really understanding like differences between the two games. But I don't say it right or wrong. That's not fair, because you can be extremely happy playing checkers, but you, in my opinion, you just won't become wealthy playing checkers.
No, that makes sense. Let me ask, because it's funny how everyone has a different definition of rich wealthy. In the book, do you go into what do you think your definition of wealthy is?
I would say when money's no longer the driving force in your life. Once it's something else, right? And once you're not getting up and getting out of bed and doing whatever you were doing to strictly pay for things, right? Once that's not the driving force, I would say that yeah, you have a certain level of wealth. This all the definitions and you can use also another idea is to use the cost of goods and services line. Like once you get above the of goods and services, once you're high above the cost of goods and services line, meaning you go to a restaurant, you're paying for stuff, you're taking your kids to their activities, you're paying for stuff, and you're never worried about the cost because your income is so far above the cost of goods and services that it's not affecting the lifestyle at all. There's that too, right? But ultimately, it's going to be up to each individual and what they want out of their financial lives. But they also, in my opinion, need to understand the games because once you understand the games, you can start playing them correctly. My son plays baseball. He's a big baseball player. He's pretty good for his age. He's 14, but he's not going to get better at baseball playing cricket,
Mm.
right? Those are two different games that have some similarities, but they're two totally different games, right? But unfortunately, in finance, there are two different games, and people are trying to get really good at one game playing another, and that's not how it works. And just putting the mirror to the whole thing, whole system, not in a bad way though. Not saying that the system is evil, it's out to get you and blah blah blah. No. It's once you understand, then it's easier for you to change your mindset towards the different systems and use them to your advantage.
Okay, no, I like that. Can you explain the rules of cricket, by the way?
Cricket? No. Yeah, no. I watch it. I've seen it like on TV, and I'm like, I don't understand. They hit the ball backwards and it's in play. I just don't.
It
Yeah,
was I
it
have a
looks hard though.
oh my God. I have a friend who's English, and one day I asked him, like, dude, what are the rules in cricket? And then he pulled up a poster that he had at one time, and it talked about the rules of cricket. And pretty much, and then it went down to the very bottom, like, there really is no rules at the end of the day. It's like you just got to hit the ball, and wherever it goes, and you just run back and forth and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that is so confusing. He goes, I can't stand American football because I don't understand it. I'm like, I understand it perfectly. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I
But
get it.
yeah, so like you don't understand the rules of football, right?
Yep.
But we can probably agree that you don't understand the rules of football the same way Bill Belichick understands the rules of football.
100% on that
Right.
one.
That's the difference, right? I understand that 10 yards is a first down, touchdown 7 points, extra point, 1 point, all that 2 point conversions. I understand all that, but I'm not gonna if Bill Belichick is explaining what he knows about football, it'll sound like Greek to me because it's a totally different level, but it is still the same game. But again, you're talking about two different games in the financial system right now, and checkers is like force fed on the middle class. It is hammered into the middle class's psyche. And it's, in my opinion, it's not what people want inherently. They don't want to just sit around 40 years of watching their financial grass grow on paper and say you can read if you invest this much money now and you continue to invest this much money in 40 years from now you'll have this much money and it's like a big number. It's yeah, but I also will be X years old and I might be dead. So this it's just it's a graduation plan, right? Like you go to school, you're in first grade, second grade, eighth grade. One day you're going to graduate. Like that is the same thing with the checkers model. It's one day you'll be able to retire. Why can't we work on retiring now?
Mm.
Like, why can't we work on becoming wealthy now and being able to retire now and not waiting 30 years from now and being able to, if we're not happy with our current profession, be able to change it? Like I was able to change it. So, yeah, it's just putting a mirror to the whole system.
And where can people find this book?
Find it on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, pretty much wherever you get books.
Perfect.
And people can download the ebook, they can download the Audible version. Selling the book, like the royalties on the book, they're so small. I don't care what medium you're using to purchase the book, is as long as you're getting the information. That was the main goal of writing it.
Love it. We'll make sure that we put a link on here so the listeners can go ahead and tap into it if that's something that they want to do. Now, were there any lessons from when you were in law enforcement that kind of carried over into the wealth advising for you?
Sure, have an evidence-based mindset.
Okay,
Like,
explain further.
so just doing what people say doesn't work for me. Like just listening, this is what you say. I want to see how feet move, not how lips move. Right. So if this is working, show me the evidence that it's working. If this is the best course of action, why should I believe that? So taking that over into the financial world, just watching what financial institutions do with money and like banks, like investment companies, which typically sell mutual funds or ETFs, something like that. Insurance companies, what are they doing? And instead of just listening to what they're saying, why don't you start thinking about doing what they're doing?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it will not be the same. And I don't think you have to go much further than life insurance companies, in my opinion, because I feel like I'm the only person on planet Earth that was asking the question and is still asking the questions. How come no life insurance companies were in trouble during COVID? What they insure is life. Life is dying. CNN's got a scoreboard on every night on how many people are dying of COVID. Why aren't the life insurance companies having bad times? Not only were they not having bad times, they were having the best years they've ever had previously. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them had better years than they had in 2019 and 2018. It's like, wait, how does that make any sense? Again, using an
Mhm.
evidence-based mindset. And I'm not saying they did anything wrong. I'm not saying they didn't pay out the claims and all that stuff. No, they did all that stuff. It's the opposite. I'm saying they did a lot of things right. It just may not be what they're telling people to do, like their agents are telling people to do. And you can scale this, right? So yeah, you may not be able to buy hotels and shopping centers and multifamily units and a whole bunch of stuff that insurance companies are able to buy. But if you scale it down, well, okay, what kind of real estate can you buy? What kind of businesses can you buy? What kind of cash flow can you create? So using again that evidence-based mindset and not just doing what you're told, right? So yeah, people I say all the time, like they say to me, "Don't most people do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, most people do that. Do you want what most people have? Because if you want what most people have, we'll do it. But if you don't want what most people have and you want something different, you got to do something different. You can't have common results, uncommon results, doing common things." So again, once you start taking that mentality towards it, it changes everything. Instead of just listening to the just the regular rhetoric that's coming out of the financial world.
And you know what? Saying about that, and you brought up the life insurance. I watch TV and I feel like there's so many damn different life insurance policies. As like someone like the layman person such as myself, I how do you explain somebody the different life insurances and which one will benefit them? Because how many different policies are there when it comes to life
Oh,
insurance?
there's so many, and all that depends on the person. There's a raging war, and I'm not like trumpeting life insurance policies by any means. I'm not like go life insurance policies, but what I'm saying is look at what the financial institutions are doing, right? So you can even look at mutual funds because most people have mutual funds, whether it's in their 401k or they're in a brokerage account or wherever. Okay, that's cool, but what are the investment companies doing? Like what are they buying? How are they developing the riches for themselves? Because a lot of times I'll get beat out by investment companies for real estate that I'm trying to purchase. And where do they get the money from? They got it from me and all I'm putting my clients into their funds. And then they turn around and beat me out on the real estate deal. And again, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I'm saying they're doing things right. But it's just not what people are doing if they want to play chess. Now, if you're happy with checkers and you're okay with the limitations on checkers, then play checkers. Nothing sucks more in the United States than being a bad checkers player. You will get your butt whooped. But if you are thirsty for something else, something and for more, for whatever reasons, then you should at least understand chess. What are the elements and how to and decide for yourself whether or not you're going to implement some of those strategies. But by the end of it, you shouldn't be screaming at the moon, why do the rich keep getting richer? You're not playing the same game.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I would say I think a lot of that has to come down to not only to the parents, but I think also to education within the school systems because they don't teach you any of that. I know I never learned it. Have they ever gone that through that with you in school?
I went to
Uh,
one of the best high schools in New York, St. Anthony's,
mhm.
and I feel like I did get a little bit more of a head start there than other schools, maybe. But I do feel like there should be more, obviously, in school because this is like one of the biggest problems people are having, and but there's no real educational background to baseline it. Right? And I'm totally for learning checkers and chess in school, as long as you're not saying this is the best way. Learning both games, understanding both games, and having people make the decision for themselves, but also having them understand the differences, the pros and cons, the risks, because there's risks on both sides. So yeah, having financial education to at least some degree is good.
Okay. And now let's talk about, I'm going to change a little bit. Why should people really rethink the relationships with debt? Because you hear many things, okay, there's good debt, there's bad debt. What's your take on that when it comes to the relationship with debt?
Good question, Omar. I speak about this a lot. All right. So yeah, it depends on which game you're playing, right? If you decide that you are a checkers player and you want to play checkers very well, stay the hell out of debt. All of it. All debt. Whatever it is, including paying off your house, whatever. Just stay away from debt to be a very good checkers player. If you want to be a good chess player, you likely want to be in as much debt as possible. But when I'm using debt in this context, income producing debt that purchase assets that creates income that services the debt and puts money in your pocket afterwards. And using that income for your kids' activities, in my case, travel baseball and competitive cheer competitions for my daughter, which are not cheap. So learning how to use debt to create income is very important. When I'm using debt in that context, I'm not talking about running your credit card up at Walmart or Kohl's or wherever. I'm talking about using leverage and to purchase assets that not only appreciate but also create cash flow.
Okay. No, that's one of the things. Being in the real estate side, I hear, especially dealing with buyers, every single buyer, sometimes that they'll come to us and it's one of those, what should I do? I haven't owned a property yet. Should I purchase? But I hear the rates are too high right now. Do I still purchase? I'm like, yes, absolutely, you purchase because that right there fluctuates. What doesn't fluctuate is value. I said, but that value is always going to keep on going, especially in real estate. I'm like, no matter what studies you look at, they always go up. So I said, if anything, don't play that game of sitting out on the sidelines for a year or two because then all of a sudden you probably lost 20 or $30,000 in equity that you would have gained using somebody else's money.
Being able to leverage is very important. Also, having the money is very important too. Having the resources. I think some people get into real estate perhaps too early. They don't have the resources to really be able to take on the debt, right? But
Mhm.
the once you have the statements, right? Like you can plop your statement down on the lender's desk and say, "Hey, I want to buy this piece of real estate. Look how much money I have, but I don't want to use my money. I want to use your money. Go in that back vault there and take out X amount of dollars. I'll put a down payment on this property out of my money, but I want to borrow your money and we'll have somebody else pay the principal and interest back plus a little bit money in my pocket." That's a good use of debt in my opinion, right? So but you should still have the resources to pay it back if you wanted to, but you don't want to. You want the income that the asset is producing to pay it back to service the debt. So once you start developing systems around that concept, I think worlds open up, because if I pay it cash, then I don't have to pay the interest. No, because gain on the you can be making interest on the money sitting in the accounts, borrow from banks, and you are able to depreciate the money you borrowed to purchase real estate, and you get the appreciation on the total amount that you borrowed and the money you put down on the property, not just the money you put down on the property. So let's say you're getting 4% rate of return on, or 4% appreciation on a piece of real estate. And let's say the real estate cost $1 million. You put $200,000 down, you borrowed eight. This is all hypothetical numbers, but the 4% is going to be on the entire million,
Yeah.
not just the $200,000 that you put down. So once you start understanding what is the percentage of, then you can start really getting your head around the relationship between your assets, your paper assets that you have that the lenders love to see, that's going to give them the ability to lend you the money, that $800,000 in my hypothetical, to purchase that $1 million piece of real estate, quadplex, multifamily, whatever it is, and be able to generate income from that. And you don't use your assets. Your assets continue to grow. Taxes here are probably very minimal, if not at all, because you're not creating a whole lot of taxable events. You're using the tax code to your advantage with the real estate, and taxes play a big part of this. As soon as you wrap your head around this concept that the government doesn't want you to pay taxes, as soon as you can get that in here, they don't want you to. But they want you to do what they want you to do with the money.
Mm.
So as soon as you can get there in here in your dome, then worlds open up, because you start looking at Uncle Sam more as a partner than as an enemy that you're trying to defeat. So, because looking at Uncle Sam as an enemy is a very checkers mindset, because there's not a whole lot of places to go in checkers to be able to lower taxable income. In chess, there's a lot of different avenues you can go. And it's once you understand it's mutually beneficial between the citizen and the government to do what the government wants you to do with the money. And that's why there is a tax break in the first place. Your mindset towards it completely change.
No, I like that. I like that. I'm glad you really dove into that for us. You brought out some amazing details and some amazing information, and definitely go nuggets for that. Now, when it comes to someone you're talking to, let's say that they're like, hey, listen, I'm a heavy real estate investor. What are common financial blind spots that you might say, if you're a heavy real estate investor, here's some blind spots that you might find within investing. So let me try to help you out avoid those blind spots.
One major blind spot I would say is over leveraging. They go too far the other way.
They put too
They
much.
don't have the assets to be
Mm,
able to weather storms that are inevitable in real estate investing. And they're building a house of cards, and they think it's so easy because it's worked, and they feel like they can just duplicate it. And maybe they're not old enough to remember 2006 to 2010, right? Yeah, I would say over leveraging is a big blind spot. Not doing enough due diligence is another blind spot, and not having people in your corner that are looking out for you. That I would say that is
mm,
probably one of the biggest ones. See, we're fiduciaries. We have to act in our client's best interest. So that's a legal standard that usually only us have in the real estate transactions, right? Legally. I'm not saying everybody's out to get you in the real estate transaction. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm just saying once the real estate transaction is done, everybody else gets to walk away and doesn't have a responsibility afterwards. But making sure that you have somebody in your corner who's saying, wait a second, let's pump the brakes here and really dive into this, and making sure that this is going to be the best option for you, and not as interested as in saving the deal, right? Just 100% looking out for your best interest. I would say that's a blind spot too.
okay. And going through that, how do you coach those clients to prepare for that cash flow dip and maybe the downturn?
Can you say that one more time? You were low.
I said, when it comes to exactly what you just said back in 2009, 2010, if they weren't there, what are you doing right now to help coach those clients that you have to prepare for cash flow dips or any kind of downturn that might happen?
Yeah, it's making sure the deal is good, right?
Mm,
I think there's good deals in every market.
yeah.
They're sometimes harder to find. Like right now is a much more difficult time to find a good deal as it was 3 years ago. But that doesn't mean good deals aren't out there because of whatever interest rates or climate, whatever the issues are currently. I always feel like there are good deals out there, but you have to be, in my opinion, in a good position to be able to take on that deal and without over leveraging, of course, and making sure that what does this look like 5, 10 years from now? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? Are you just looking for cash flow? Are you looking for cash flow and appreciation? Are you looking for appreciation? What is your goal? But also making sure that they are in a financial position to make these moves. And if they're not, yeah, people pay me to tell them the truth. So I won't go. I tell them like, yeah, like this. We need more assets just because the lender is willing to give you the money doesn't mean that you should take it, right? You should have to be in a good financial position where if there is a storm, you're able to handle it because anybody who's been investing in real estate for a considerable amount of time can tell you there's speed bumps, there's
Mhm.
potholes, there's things that are gonna and if you're going too fast, you hit a pothole, you can be sent into the trees. So just understanding that I think is very important.
I love that. Now, as far, let's say, when it comes to strategies, do you have any favorite strategies that to optimize cash flow that you talk to your clients about?
To optimize cash flow, my
Yeah.
favorite is using real estate, but that's not always the best case for some people. Some people's businesses, people want to expand their businesses and use that to create more cash flow. But there is a problem within the marketplace, right, or just in the community of a verse, right? They think there's a verse between the market-based assets and the real estate, and I think it's more of an and, not a verse, where these things are working in conjunction with each other to create a system and a strategy that creates more cash flow. But I'm one of the few wealth advisors that will say out loud that the cash flow is not likely coming from the paper assets, not the dividends and all the cash flow from the paper assets, because you need so much of the paper assets to be able to create those kinds of strategies. But what the paper assets give you is the leverage to be able to purchase the real estate or the business or whatever you're using to create cash flow. And I think that's more of the strategy that works for a lot of people. But it's not right for everybody. And people should build a team that's going to be able to make sure that it's in their best interest to do those types of strategies.
No, I love that. Okay. All right, now let's talk about some tax strategies. Okay. What do you feel that people overlook the most? Or maybe what? How do I want to ask this question? What overlooked tax strategies can help preserve wealth? There we go.
Overlooked tax strategies?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm always looking, so it's hard for me to wrap my head around overlooking. I would say not truly for if we're talking about real estate stuff per se. I know your audience has a lot of real estate minded people. I would say the real estate professional, what that means, and how to achieve that tax status, for lack of a better phrase, is definitely overlooked, especially if the person is the spouse of somebody who has a W 2 income job or 1099 job or earned income, something active and earned. And the other person it's possible, consult with the tax person before implementing any of these strategies for the other person in the couple to be the real estate professional, and those formerly passive losses on the real estate can now be active losses, and those active losses can offset gains on the other side of the marriage, if you
Hmm.
will, and create some considerable tax savings. But you have to follow the rules, right? You have to be, you have to, it can't, you have to materially participate in the real estate. You got to have over 750 hours, whole bunch of rules. It's got to be your main gig, basically. But I would say that's one of the most overlooked ones.
Okay. I'm starting to see a lot of structures such as trust and 1031 exchanges right now. So when it comes to that, how can structures like trust or 1031 exchanges fit in into that the tax strategies or into something like preserving wealth in your opinion?
Well, the 1031 exchange is great because it's going to defer the taxes, right? You're deferring the capital gains taxes that you are trading the one property for the other property, right? So you're deferring those taxes. And as long as you do that until you die, basically, the taxes, there won't be a tax event at your death because your heirs will get the step up in basis on those properties, right? So I call it the swap until you drop game with the 1031. But again, that's another thing where you have to follow a lot of rules. You got to make sure that you're doing it right because the government real is it wants you to invest in real estate. That's why they have these rules like the 1031 exchange and depreciation, bonus depreciation, cost segregation. That's why they have these things because they want you to do it, right? But but you want to follow the rules very closely and have a team that's going to help you do that because it's not a very forgiving process if you screw it up.
1031 exchange, couple clarification. I need some clarification on and have two questions for you. Number one, can it be your primary home that you use that money to buy that property? So let's say I just sold two investment properties and now I want to carry that over and buy my a primary home. Can I do that with a 1031 exchange?
It's very difficult to have your primary residence be able to 1031 your primary residence.
Okay.
So but again, build a team of people who know and specialize in those in different areas, right? Have the wealth advisor, have the tax professional, have the estate planning attorney, have the real estate agent that you're using, have all these people, have the lender, right? Have all these people so you don't have to know it all. So you can do that. But it because a lot of these is going to be you can do it if. So and it's hard for me to come up with all these scenarios in a couple of minutes on what are all the what ifs. So yeah, it's but the 1031 exchange, especially for investment properties, is definitely something that again the government's allowing you to do it, wants you to do it, doesn't want you to pay taxes on it. But also people need to understand like why, right? Why does the government give people that invest in real estate all these great tax benefits? It's because by doing that, they are naturally creating rent control. All my friends that invested in real estate, we are creating competition amongst each other for those renters, and that competition naturally keeps rent as low as possible. I know people will disagree that the rent is low, but it creates a market of a competition, which in theory keeps prices low.
No, which I like that because, like you said, a lot of people will sit there and I know in different states they're trying to pass certain. I think some states already have it. Other states are trying to pass rules where you can only ask for so much when it comes to rent and more of a rent control state. And I know that's been up in arms. I've been hearing on the news back and forth about no, that's not fair. And then of course I hear both sides of the stories. Let's put it that way. And I completely agree with you. Yeah, it's one of those where okay, if me and Jack have ones and they're both 1,200 square feet, but he has his at 1,800, then you know what? I want to get mine rented out quicker, so I'm going to lower mine to 17. And then all of a sudden,
Right.
what if he does the same thing? And then goes, you know what? I'm going to do mine at 16.95. And then all of a sudden, I haven't gotten no one yet, and you just keep on bringing it down until the market and that consumer says, okay, it's worth X. So yeah, I'll
Right.
rent it now from you, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So you're creating a free market where the market will decide what that rent should be,
Exactly.
right? And the government doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
And because I think I think most people can agree when the government gets involved with something, it usually doesn't go
Doesn't go well. Doesn't
extremely
go well.
well
Nah.
like that, especially not at first. So, like creating these free market elements to in the financial world, I think really help. But they do it with the tax code.
Yeah.
That's what they use to incentivize behavior is the tax code because all gross income is taxable from whatever source derived, right? That's the main line. But then there's a whole book on all the exemptions and reasons why some things aren't taxable or taxed at a lower rate or tax benefits, tax credits, whatever. So again, taxes play a really big part in this because the government's basically saying, in my opinion, you can do what you want. It's a free country, but I got this whole like big old coupon book here that you can use if you want to. But if you don't use this big old book, I'm going to take the tax dollars because I need to still have defense and build roads, bridges, and schools.
Exactly.
So you, in my opinion, it's better to do what the government wants you to do because you get to keep more of your money. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
No, I love that. All right, two more questions. What's
Sure.
one actionable step that you think someone listening to us today, right now, can take to can actually take some kind of action to improve their financial future today?
Learn whether you're a chess player or a checkers player. Get to that place in your brain where whether you are a checkers player at heart or a chess player at heart. I think that's a very actionable step. Of course, I'm going to plug my book and say, okay, here's a book that helps you with that. But ultimately, it's deciding it does. Are you do you, what do you want?
Mm,
Because if checkers is going to be great for you and you're going to be happy and you don't need I don't need all that other stuff. I don't want all that other stuff. Checkers is going to be great. Go do it well. But if you are aspiring for generational wealth and other things, then chess is going to be probably more of a game for you. But you also, if you have to be willing to do the things that chess players are willing to do in order to get where you want to be, right? Everybody wants to make the major leagues, right? But people aren't willing to, if you're not willing to do what it takes to get there, then you're not going to get there. You can still want to, right? Because the want doesn't matter, but you have to take steps.
all right. With that being said, there's another question that popped in my head right when you were saying that. So, what do you wish everyone knew about building wealth? So, it's Omar, before they even call me, I just wish they knew this about building wealth. And yeah, I love that answer that you had about, okay, checkers, checkers, and chess. But what is it that you wish that everyone knew about building wealth?
Debt builds wealth.
Was that debt?
Debt
Okay, debt
builds
builds wealth. I thought I
Debt
said,
helps you build wealth.
I like
Yeah.
that.
If you use it correctly,
Yeah,
debt
of
is like
course.
fire.
Yeah.
If you use it correctly, heats your house, cooks your food, have a nice little campfire, it's great. You let it get out of control and let it do what it wants to do, it'll burn everything to the ground. So making sure that you can handle and are responsible for handling how you're going to use debt. And there's difference between debt capacity, because that's more of a quantifiable number. Okay, you can really handle about this much, right? But
Mm.
then there's also debt tolerance, which could also be less than that number, what you're comfortable with and what you can sleep at night with. But yeah, and once you understand how to use it correctly, you're not afraid of it anymore. But when you don't know how to use it correctly, it can be very scary. And I even suggest, hey, if you're that person, just play checkers and stay away from it.
Okay, I love that. Last question, and I ask this to everybody. So,
Hmm?
if you can just leave one deed behind, one action, mindset, or even a lesson for every single real estate professional listening to, entrepreneur, just a layman person listening today, what would that be?
Successful people are willing to do the things that they don't want to do in order to get where they want to be.
I like it. I like it. That's very powerful. Very powerful. Man, listen, it was absolutely great, Freddie, having you on the show. You definitely give us, yeah, you gave me a lot of nuggets to think about. And by far, I think you're one of the only financial advisors that I've actually heard that, hey, the government does not want you to pay taxes, number one. And let's look at good debt. Obviously, there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And like you said, when it comes to especially real estate investors, a lot of them get that bad debt where they're just a little bit upside down. And when it comes down to it, they bought a bad deal, right?
Mhm.
But you definitely threw in some nuggets in there that I love the honesty all the way through. Guys, listen, right below what we're going to do is we're going to have the website link, okay? We're going to have the link where you can also buy Freddie's book as well, his YouTube channel, social media handles, everything right there for you guys. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, you guys can actually go out there and speak to Freddie, get his book, all right, Playing the Wealth Game. I want to thank you so much again for listening to the Mr. Deed Show. Please always remember, actions build empires. Stay focused, stay hungry, and always give life that whammo. I'm Omar and thank you so much for tuning into the Mr. Deed Show. Take care, guys.
This is Omar and signing off and reminding you that success in real estate and in life is built one deed at a time. Until next time, keep it real, stay sharp, and don't forget to give life a big whammo and keep moving forward.